Hello and welcome to Total Retro Entertainment and Technology, otherwise known as Treat. This is a channel that will be talking on about retro technology, retro entertainment, and a combination of old and new. Now, this all started back in the '80s when I owned an Atari XL. I owned a Commodore 64. Then owned an Amiga, and then I owned a PC. And then I got into emulation because within a few months of my getting a PC, we're talking about 1995, emulators started coming out for the ZX Spectrum. And that's a British computer that was very popular in the '80s in England mostly. And a lot of good games came out for it. It was interesting because the graphics were either monochrome or they were four color, and there was color clash, and there was all sorts of things going on. But to tell you the truth, it was really cool. I think it was a very good thing. I got really into it. And then it built up from there. I now pretty much emulate because of my computer setup. I can pretty much emulate anything up to PS3 and Xbox 360. I can pretty much. And I have more than enough power to emulate a lot of things. And for this channel, we're going to have a little bit of a challenge to begin with. First part of it is we're going to be focusing at first on the home computers of the '80s, and that goes up to Amiga and Atari ST, and emulation on those. And then the next part of the challenge is, and this is going to be interesting, I think. I'm putting a $300 limit on the laptop and the desktop I'm going to be using, and you can go up to PS2 with this, and I've seen it done. I've seen the emulators are really good these days. And I think things have changed so much that now it's just more of a matter of teaching people how to set up the computers and make it work. I think it's important to understand that I also have, I went through a period where I didn't have a lot of money. My equipment is more than capable of handling anything these days. My life has changed considerably since the '80s. I think this is a good way of bringing in and understanding you don't need to spend a lot of money to do this. You don't need to, spend $2,000 to 3,000 to get a game running, a 25-year-old game running, a 35-year-old game running. Now, this whole channel started because of a announcement regarding a handheld ZX Spectrum. This is back about 5, 6 years ago now, I guess. And it turned out to be a major scam. Now, only about 100 of these were actually developed, and they were horrible. They didn't really run anything. People were complaining about the way that they ran. The buttons were horrible. It was a mess. About the same time, two things happened. One, there was a computer enthusiast that created a clone of the ZX Spectrum and did it and turned it into a sort of laptop type thing. And it's really cool. It's still, it's a really cool thing. But then I also found out about how to do run ZX Spectrum games on a Nintendo DS. So now we're talking these days. It's about you can probably get a Nintendo DS for about $75, and you need an R4 card, which lets you run a micro SD. Put a micro SD in there, put games in there. That's about another $10. The micro SD, if you just want, you can do that for about another 10. So under $100, you can get a handheld ZX Spectrum basically, and it's really good because the DS you have one screen does the keyboard, the other screen does the game. It's really cool, and it does a lot of other things too. It emulates a lot of other things too, and including all the and most of the home computers of the '80s and '90s. Now, the thing about the challenge of keeping under $300, I just don't want people spending a lot of money. There's no need to spend a lot of money to do this. Um, if you like doing modern games, of course, spend what you wish. I'm not here to tell you otherwise, but I think it's important to understand if you're going into this, you don't need to spend a lot of money to do this. Um, I will be doing this as a teaching tool, as a teaching channel, how to set up things, how to do, let's say, Bonacera, how to do RetroBat, how to make things work. And again, it's going to be a combination of old and new. I now own Atari 130XC. I own a Commodore 64 with a disk drive. I own a genuine ZX Spectrum, 48K, the original version. And now the equipment's been modified to run on United States electric outlets. It's been modified to run in HD. It's been modified to run on micro SD cards, to run programs from micro SD cards rather than. And I still have the clone, and I still have other ways of doing it. And with the Commodore 64, I own the pretty much the breadbox version with the disk drive, and I have the micro and the or the mini and the maxi that were out a couple of years ago, and the Atari 130XC, again modified to run off micro SD card, run programs off micro SD card. I'm going to be showing you things from that era. One of my favorite games is a odd little thing called Pinball Construction Set. So again, this goes back to my interest in pinball. I remember going to Nathan's in Yonkers, New York, when I was a kid, and they had an arcade and they had all sorts of pinball games, and I played. My father would take us there. I would play for a little while, probably 7 years old at the time to begin with. And I pretty much had played in most of the arcades that were around at the time. And later on, I got into virtual pinball, playing on my PC, and I have a way of setting up virtual pinball. So it looks like it's real pinball now. It's gotten a lot better. I will be bringing that in too because that's part of retro entertainment. Pinball is part of retro entertainment, in my opinion. Now, so we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things here. There are a lot of people who do discussions of consoles a lot better than I can. I recommend you go see their channels. I can tell you Mr. Sujano. I can tell you ETA Prime, Retro Game Core. Chinny Vision does a great job if you like the home computers. I'm not trying to compete with them. I'm going to try to be a niche channel, sort of in between these guys. I'm going to be using what I have available. I'm not buying any new equipment anytime soon. I have so many handheld PCs that I'm going to be selling off quite a few of them now, starting in January. So the first video is coming out in January. It's going to be how to set up the handheld Spectrum on handheld PC and how to do it on Nintendo DS. Now, the Nintendo DS, if you do it, you're talking about $100, like I said, to set it up. 75 for the DS, $10 for the R4 card you're going to need, and $10 for the micro SD. You can download everything on World of Spectrum. I think, yeah, it's pretty much clean. It's pretty much illegal on that channel now, so you can go ahead and do that. If I do anything on a PC, it will be on a $300 maximum PC. I promise you that, unless it's essential for me to do it on my standard equipment. Now, before I close, I'm going to make a statement about people who want to contact me regarding SEO or monetization, improve your viewers. Please don't waste your time doing that. I'm not interested. This is part of a project I'm doing to improve my presentation skills. I am a PhD student, and this is going to be the format that we use to present our papers and our defenses. Therefore, it makes no sense for me to do otherwise. Anyway, thank you for your time, and I'll be back with more in January. Probably the second week of January, I'll have the first video out, and I'll keep you posted from there. Thank you very much.